We now turn our attention now to the highlights from Talkback. And again, I'm demonstrating something from Talkback. Hi. As we continue in our series of highlights from Talkback, we come to our second installment. In this demonstration, I'll be using the Pixel 4a as well as the Pixel 2 XL. I will be using the Vocalizer TTS on the Pixel 2 XL, and I will be using Eloquence on the Pixel 4a. To navigate to the Talkback settings, like I said last week, what one needs to do if you are running an older version of Talkback that doesn't have the multi-finger support, one has to draw that letter L. So in other words, drawing a line downward and curving to the right. That still works. Now, if you are using something that supports the multi-finger gestures, however, you could also use that or simply tap with 3 fingers to bring up the Talkback menu. I will now invoke the Talkback menu with the 3-finger tap on the Pixel 4a and then invoke the Talkback menu, drawing a line down and curving right on the Pixel 2 XL. Here's Pixel 4a.
Talkback menu, actions, and list.
That's Pixel 4. Now I will invoke the Talkback menu using the drawing of a line downward and curving to the right on my Pixel 2 XL.
Talkback menu, actions, in list.
Alright, so let's explore what we have in these items. Here we hear actions, and the reason why we hear actions as well as hearing it on the Pixel 4 was simply owed to the fact that on both devices the focus was either on an icon or a folder. And as a result of that, when you invoke the Talkback menu, you will hear the first item being actions. I am on the Pixel 2 XL, and so the first item we hear is actions. Let's go forward.
Navigation.
We have navigation.
Read from top. Read from next item. Copy last spoken phrase.
So I'm just simply going with my fingers down, or you can swipe from left to right as well if you like to swipe. Or else I'm simply moving my finger down as I go through the list.
Screen search. Hide screen. Voice commands. Talkback settings. Text-to-speech settings.
And that's the last item that I have on my Pixel
Cancel
2.
button, out of list.
And of course, there's a cancel at the bottom right. I will now switch over now to the Pixel 4a. And the first thing we heard here was also actions.
Actions.
So here we go.
Read from next item.
I will now be swiping for those that like to swipe.
Copy last spoken phrase. Spell last spoken phrase. Repeat last spoken phrase. Screen search. Hide screen. Voice commands. Talkback settings. Text-to-speech settings. System actions. Cancel button out of list. Cancel.
There was an extra thing that we heard, which is system actions, that we did not hear on the Pixel 2 XL, running Talkback 9.1. I will now jump into the Talkback settings, and that would be the second to the last on the Pixel 2 running Android 11, and will be the third to the last on the Pixel 4a. Let's now move over to the Pixel 2.
Voice talkback settings.
Here's Talkback settings.
Talkback settings. Navigate up button out of list. Hunched is running. Tap for more.
I will now go over to the Pixel 4a.
Talkback settings. Talkback settings. Navigate up. Image out of list.
You heard both say navigate to top, and on the Pixel 4a, we hear something says image, and this is a bug or whatever that was brought about by installing the Android 12 Beta 4. I also do want to mention here in passing that with the 12 Beta 4, If you're planning on using the Talkback Braille Keyboard, I ask you not to because that will crash your Android accessibility and you will need sighted help in order to get that going. And you first of all will have to, of course, uncheck the Talkback Braille Keyboard from the virtual keyboards. Now let's go back to what I was talking about. We are now in the Talkback settings. We heard navigate top on both devices. I will now move my finger down on the Pixel 2.
Talkback Settings, out of list.
I hear Talkback Settings.
New features in Talkback, in list.
New features in Talkback. I'm going to tap on this. We're not going to go through the whole tutorial, but we're going to see what is different between the two. If one is running some device that supports the multi-finger gestures and one that doesn't support the multi-finger gestures.
Welcome to the updated Talkback, page 1 of 3, out of list.
We are told that there are 3 pages in this tutorial. Now let's go find one on the Pixel 4a and tap on the same item and see how many pages we got.
Talkback Settings. New features in Talkback, in list.
I will tap here.
Welcome to the updated Talkback, page 1 of 4, out of list.
We are told that there are 4 pages on this one as to the 3 pages on my Pixel 2 XL. Let's see what the differences are.
You will get new easier gestures, simpler menus, voice control, and more. You will learn about key updates and changes in the next few screens. This will take about 5 minutes. You can review this information in Talkback Settings at any time.
At the bottom of the screen, we have 2 buttons. We have the next or the close. At the bottom left is our next, and on the right is the close. You can also swipe from right to left to advance without tapping on the next button. Let's see now what the other one says on the Pixel 2 XL.
You will get simpler menus, voice control, and more. You will learn about key updates and changes in the next few screens. This will take about 3 minutes. You can review this information in Talkback Settings at any time.
I'm going to decrease the speech rate on this Pixel 2 XL because I didn't realize it's a little bit faster than the one I have on my Pixel 4a. In order to decrease my speech rate, I'm going to scrub, in other words, do the up-down scrubbing movement to change the granularity, or I could do the up-down movement with one finger, that is. You can also swipe from left to right to also change the granularities, or even up and down with 3 fingers to change the granularities. So I'm going to do up and down.
Lines. You will get simpler menus. Words. Characters.
I'm looking for rate.
Speech rate.
That's what I want. Now I will swipe down with one finger to decrease the speech rate.
Slower. Slower. Slower.
There we go.
You will get simpler menus. Voice control.
That is slower. Now we could tap on the next at the bottom.
Next button.
And that's on the left.
Reading controls. Page 2 of 3.
And we're told reading controls.
These shortcuts can help you quickly change settings, like switching your navigation from characters to words or changing Talkback speech rate. Step 1. Swipe down and then up to select the next reading control. Step 2. Swipe down to move the navigation focus forward or adjust a reading control down.
Okay, if I swipe.
Try it now. Swipe down and then up.
And basically that is changing the granularity, and this is using one finger.
Links.
All right.
You can also reverse either of these gestures. Swipe up and then down to select the previous reading control. Swipe up to move the navigation focus up or adjust a reading control up. You can customize your reading controls in Talkback Settings.
In other words, these are reversible. It says link. Now, if I swipe down and up, it's going to say the granularity that was before I changed to the link. So I will do that now.
Speech rate.
There you heard it, because that was the last one I had when I changed my speech rate. All right, let's move to the next thing.
You can also reverse either of these gestures. Swipe up and then down to select the previous reading control. Swipe up to move the navigation focus up or adjust a reading control up. You can customize your reading controls in Talkback Settings.
In other words, you could change how you go about doing these things. That is, you could say, hey, when I swipe up or down, do this instead. And we'll see that in our next lesson as we move along in our Talkback tutorials. Let's move to the next one.
Next button. Next.
We go to next.
More new features. Page 3 of 3.
This is the last page now, and we hear more new features.
Global and local context menus, used to help you find settings and controls, are now united in a single Talkback menu. Your existing gestures, such as swipe down and then right, will still take you to the new united menu.
All right.
Now you can use your voice to control Talkback quickly. Go to Talkback Settings to set up a gesture for voice command. Talkback now includes a Braille keyboard so you can type faster with Braille. To try it, go to Talkback Settings. Finish button.
And
Finish.
there's a finish. Before I tap on finish, however, I do want to mention here in passing that what they're talking about here is that it used to be in previous versions of Talkback prior to version 9.1 that we had a separate context menu and a Talkback menu, or global menu rather. So in other words, think of it like the right click of the mouse and the left click of the mouse, wherein right clicking of the mouse will activate the context menu of an item in Windows. The same thing was true with Talkback. For instance, if I'm on a word or on something and I want a context to that, I could invoke that menu, the local context menu, which we used to call LCM, and that would activate menus specific to what is in focus. However, now these two have been combined together to where we only have one menu within which you will find all that pertains to either a single item or a general Talkback menu. For instance, you heard it when I launched the Talkback menu, it says actions because it was resting on an item or on a folder. I will now tap on the finish.
Finish button. Talkback Settings. New features in Talkback.
So we are done with that part of the tutorial on a phone that does not have multi-finger gestures. I will now move on to the Pixel 4a that supports multi-finger gestures. And here we go.
Next button. You will get new easier gestures, simpler menus, voice control, and more. You will learn about key updates and changes in the next few screens.
I will now tap on the next because it's the same instruction.
Next button. New gestures. Page 2 of 4. New gestures have been added to make Talkback faster and easier to use. On this screen, you can try the new gestures.
Okay.
Note, you have customized some of your gestures, so this information may not be accurate. To review your gestures, go to Talkback Settings.
In other words, what they are saying here is that Talkback is intelligent enough to realize that I have gone in and changed some of those default gestures to what I prefer. However, some have not been changed. We'll take a look.
To pause or play media in a video or music app, double tap with 2 fingers. Try it now.
And I haven't changed that. So if you're playing music or something, you just double tap with 2 fingers and you'll stop the music. But because I do not have something to try it with at the moment, even if I double tap, nothing is going to happen. Nothing happens because I don't have any music track on this phone, nor do I have any ongoing media playing. Let's go to the next.
Other apps may use this gesture for things like answering or ending a phone call. This gesture may not be supported by all apps.
So in other words, you could also use this double tap with 2 fingers to answer phone calls and things like that. Some apps may even allow you to do that. I no longer use WhatsApp, so I'm not sure if the double tap of a 2 finger would allow you to answer a WhatsApp call or not. I know I use things like Google Duo, and I also use Signal as well as Telegram. But for Duo, all I do is simply swipe up with 2 fingers to answer that call, and for Telegram, there's always that answer on the bottom right, so I simply tap on that. So let's go to the next.
To stop Talkback from talking temporarily, tap with 2 fingers.
In other words, if Talkback is talking or you're reading something, you could tap and it will stop it. Okay. I have customized mine. You can always customize it and change it to what you want.
To copy text, double tap with 3 fingers.
So if I do that,
Copied. To copy text, double tap with 3 fingers.
I double tap with 3 fingers and it copied what was just spoken. Let's move to the next.
To paste text, triple tap with 3 fingers.
So if you are in an edit field, you want to paste some text that you have on the clipboard, you triple tap with 3 fingers. 1, 2, 3.
Not editable.
And I am told not editable because I am not in an edit field. Let's go to the next.
To cut text, double tap and hold with 3 fingers.
So if you're in an edit field and you want to copy text, you want to double tap with 3 fingers and then hold. That will cut the text.
Not editable.
Again, I'm told it's not editable because I'm not in an editing field. Let's move on.
To start or end text selection mode, double tap and hold with 2 fingers.
So if I double tap and hold with 2 fingers,
not editable.
I am told it's not editable because, again, I'm not in an edit field.
Next button.
Let's go to next.
Reading controls. Page 3 of 4.
And this has to do with reading. All right, let's go on.
These shortcuts can help you quickly change settings, like switching your navigation from characters to words or changing Talkback speech rate. Step 1. Swipe right with 3 fingers to select the next reading control. Step 2. Swipe down with 1 finger to move the navigation focus forward or adjust a reading control down.
I do want to mention something here in passing, that you have those 3-finger gestures whereby swiping left or right with 3 fingers will change the granularities, and in the same breath, you can also use the up-down scrubbing with 1 finger to change those granularities. So you have both ways of doing so if you so want to, and I think you can even swipe up and down with 3 fingers to do the same thing. And I don't know why we have so many things or gestures dedicated to one action. To me, I think it's a whole lot of a waste of gestures. And for that reason, I have reassigned my 3 right or right finger swipes to something else rather than using it in changing my granularities when I'm reading or when I'm editing text, whatever the case may be. Let's move on.
Try it now. Swipe right with 3 fingers.
So I swipe right with 3 fingers. You're not going to hear anything because I have changed it. If I had not changed it, you will hear it. Okay, let's move on.
You can also reverse either of these gestures. Swipe left with 3 fingers to select the previous reading control. Swipe up with 1 finger to move the navigation focus backward or adjust the reading control up. You can customize your reading controls in Talkback Settings.
So in other words, you could change them like we talked earlier, like we said earlier when I was showing you how to do that on a 1-finger movement. So you can switch them around. And once you are on a granularity, remember to use 1 finger to swipe up or down, but not the scrubbing mode. If you're scrubbing, then you will be changing the granularity. So in other words, if you are in a line mode or in a word mode, then remember to swipe down to read word by word or one finger down to read line by line, or one finger down to read character by character, depending on the mode that you're in. Let's move on.
You can also reverse either of these gestures. Swipe left with 3 fingers to select the previous reading.
Exactly what I just talked about.
Next button.
Let's go to next.
More new features. Page 4 of 4.
And we're on more new features on page 4. And the only thing that was missing on my Pixel 2 was that multi-finger gestures. Let's hear what page 4 talks about, if it's talking about the same thing that we heard on the last page on the Pixel 2.
Global and local context menus used to help you find settings and controls are now...
Exactly, so it's talking about the same thing, that we now have the local and global context menus now combined into one.
Now you can use your voice to control Talkback.
And then the voice.
Talkback now includes a Braille Keyboard.
And the Braille Keyboard.
Finish button.
And we have the finish.
Talkback settings. New features and...
Now we are back to the Talkback menu. And the next thing below the new features would be...
Audio heading.
We have audio heading.
New features and audio heading.
And under that heading...
Text-to-speech settings.
We have text-to-speech settings, which everyone is familiar with. You can go in here and choose whatever it is TTS you want to use. I'm using Eloquence on this and using the Vocalizer TTS on my Pixel 2 in this demonstration.
Verbosity.
Verbosity. This is probably very important that we should go in here.
Verbosity. Navigate up, image, out of list.
And I would like to mention here that both using the Pixel 2 XL and the Pixel 4a, there wouldn't necessarily be any difference, but we'll take a look real quick. I am now on that Pixel 4. We're under Verbosity. Let's take a look at what we have under Verbosity.
Verbosity. Navigate up, image. Choose a preset, custom, and list.
I have mine set to custom. You can tap in here and choose what you want. If I tap here,
choose a preset, high, and list.
You could have high verbosity.
Custom, checked.
Or custom like what I have.
Low.
Or low, meaning you're not going to hear a lot. And I'm going to go back.
Verbosity. Verbosity details, heading.
And these are the details of the verbosity.
Speak usage hints. Usage hints are not spoken when moving accessibility focus. Switch off.
So I have mine turned off because I don't want to be told when I'm on an icon that to activate double tap. Now, if you're getting started with Android, it's probably good that you should have those on so you know what to do. But if you're a power user or you're more advanced in using Android and you know what to do when you engage an icon or an item that you need to activate, you know for sure that you need to double tap on that to activate it. Or if you're trying to long press to get some actions, you will know that you will need to long press by double tapping and holding to bring up actions that you may use. So let's move on.
Speak list and grid information. List and grid information is spoken. Switch on.
I have this on, and my reason for having it on is that when I'm in a list or I'm in a list of things and other things like that, I want to know as to how many items are there so that I know when I'm getting close to the end of the list and things like that. But if you don't want to hear that and you just want to blindly go around and try and guess as to how many items are in there, you can go ahead and turn it off. It's totally up to you. It's all about customization. Let's move to the next.
Speak the number of list items on the screen. Speak only when scrolling with gesture. Switch off. Speak the number of list items on the screen.
And here you could turn it on so you know how many items or list of whatever are there. Is all up to you. Again, it's customization. I have mine turned off.
Speak element type. Element type is spoken for focused items. Switch on. Speak element type.
In other words, you want to hear those elements like buttons and things like that. You want to turn this on so you know when you engage one, like links and things like that. Most especially if you are navigating on a web page, you want to be able to distinguish when you engage a link and when you engage a radio button or a button or an edit field. So it is important that you have this one turned on. I have mine turned on.
Speak when screen is off. No speech occurs when the screen is off. Switch off. Speak when screen is off.
In other words, if you want to hear things that come to your phone when your screen has been shut off, I have mine left on the off position. But if you want to be able to hear things even when your screen is off, then you need to turn this on. It's all about that customization. Let's move on.
Use pitch changes. Don't change voice pitch when speaking. Switch off.
In other words, you could hear some pitch changes and all of that.
Audio.
And I have mine turned off. Let's move to the next.
Speak phonetic letters. Phonetic letters are not spoken. Switch off.
You could turn this on, most especially for our people who are hard of hearing. You want to hear where it says A as in alpha or B, bravo, that kind of thing. And sometimes, really, if you're using a TTS that is not pronouncing these things very pronounced or clearly, then you absolutely need to turn this on so you know what a particular letter is, most especially letters like B, D, V, and so on, most especially if you are using something like eloquence. I do have mine off, but I suggest that if you're a little bit hard of hearing, that you turn this on so that you know what you are doing. Let's move on to the next.
Keyboard echo. Always speak type keys.
And here again, we could go in here and say always speak the type keys or not if we tap here.
Keyboard echo. Always speak type keys. Checked and list.
Or
Only for on-screen keyboard.
only for on-screen keyboard.
Never speak type keys.
Or never speak them at all. I'm going to go back. It's totally up to you. Again, the word here is customization. Let's move to the next one.
Capital letters. Say capital.
Now, if you want, you could say, hey, say capital when I engage a capital letter, or say not, or don't say it. Let's go in here and see what our choices are.
Capital letters. Do nothing and list.
We have do nothing.
Say capital. Checked.
Say capital.
Change pitch.
Change pitch. And
Play sound.
play a sound. It's all up to you. Again, it's customization. So in other words, if I'm reading something character by character, when I have something that is capitalized, in my case, it will say capital A, capital D, whatever that case may be. Let's move on.
Miscellaneous heading.
We now come to the miscellaneous heading, and here are the things that we will find under miscellaneous.
Speak element IDs with capital letters. Say miscellaneous heading.
The first thing under miscellaneous is
Speak element IDs. Element IDs are spoken for unlabeled buttons. Switch on. Speak element IDs.
this is very important because a lot of apps out there do not have labels. And so you may engage something and would simply say unlabeled button. So it is important that you turn this on, and Talkback would attempt to auto-label that for you. And so it is good to turn this one on. Let's go to the next item.
Punctuation. Punctuation and symbols are not spoken. Switch off. Punctuation.
So you see mine is off. So in other words, if you are navigating an item and you come across punctuations and things like that, you're not going to hear them, and it's up to you. You could choose not to have them spoken, or you can turn it off to where they're not spoken, or you can turn it on to where they're spoken. I have mine off. So in other words, when you're reading, you come across a period, it will say a period, or you come across a question mark, it will say a question mark. And it could be a little bit annoying if you're reading something and hearing all them punctuations. And so I have mine turned off. And that would be our last one in our Pixel 4a under verbosity. Let's now quickly take a look at our Pixel 2 and see if things are similar like I had alluded to earlier. So now let's go to verbosity on the Pixel 2 XL.
Verbosity. Verbosity. Navigate up, button, out of list.
In my verbosity, here are the items that I find, and we're just going to go through them quickly and see if there's any difference, but I'm not going to go into them like we did on the Pixel 4a if they are saying the same thing. We have
Verbosity details, head chooser preset, custom.
the same thing.
Verbosity details, heading. Keyboard echo, always speak type keys. Keyboard echo. Speak usage hints. Usage hints are not spoken when moving accessibility focus. Switch. Speak the number of list items on the screen. Speak only when scrolling with gesture. Switch. Speak element type. Element type is spoken for focused items. Switch on.
So the elements type are spoken, just like we had it on the other one.
Use pitch changes. Don't change voice pitch when speaking. Switch off. Speak when screen is off. No speech occurs when the screen is off. Switch off. Miscellaneous heading.
Here's our miscellaneous heading.
Element description order. Name, type, state.
This is something that for some reason I didn't see on my Pixel 4a, and I bet you it's somewhere else. But basically what this is if you are doing things like buttons, do you want to hear it saying Wi-Fi off button or switch, or do you want to hear Wi-Fi switch on? And so in other words, you want to hear the state first, or you want to hear the item first. In other words, do you want to hear switch on Wi-Fi, or you want to hear Wi-Fi switched on? That's what this is. Let's take a look at what they are.
Element description order. State, name, type, in list.
So we have state, name, type.
State, name, type, in list. Type, name, state. Name, type, state, checked.
So in mine, I have
Type.
checked.
Google notify.
So in mine, I have checked the one that says
Name, type, state, checked. In list, element description order.
name, type, state, checked. So in my case, when I engage the Wi-Fi, it will first say Wi-Fi, internet, and it will say either off or on. So if you choose the other one, which would say something like
Type, name, state.
or,
State, name, type.
it's totally up to you. Let's now go back.
Verbosity.
The next item here is
Speak element IDs. Element IDs are spoken for unlabeled buttons. On, switch.
and that's the one I talked about earlier on the Pixel 4a. You want to turn this on so it can auto-label those unlabeled buttons whenever they have the capability of being labeled.
Punctuation. Punctuation and symbols are not spoken. Off, switch. Punctuation.
And that's the last one, having to do with punctuations. This will be it for this segment. Until next time.